Welcome back, everybody, to the Meeple Marathon and another unboxing. This time we're going to be taking a look at Sid Meier's Civilization: A New Dawn. This is, I believe, like the second or third version of Sid Meier's Civilization. And I'm not sure if they were all done by Fantasy Flight, but this one certainly is. This is the most current one, and this is a game that I certainly was never considering to purchase. It was a heavy civilization game for 2 to 4 players. As most of you know, I do most of my gaming solo, so it didn't make sense. But I do enjoy the civilization video games, especially the one that came out for, I think it was Xbox 360 or something like that, that kind of gave it that lighthearted look. Anyways, I've always enjoyed the video games, and so when Fantasy Flight announced that they had produced a solo mode variant, a print and play version, I immediately became intrigued. So I went ahead and downloaded the print and play version here, and printed them off and sleeved them while I waited for my copy to arrive. And now let's take a look at what is involved in the game, actual game, and then in our next video we'll take a look at how the game works with the solo AI cards. So Civilization: A New Dawn is a civilization game. Essentially it is trying to recreate the video game. So you're building your civilization up from kind of Stone Age or medieval era up to kind of a modern era, and obtain certain victory points. So as always, we have the Fantasy Flight rulebook here, and then we have rules of play. This appears to be a pretty standard rulebook. I find it interesting though that Fantasy Flight generally does these like learn to play books and then a rules reference book, and this appears to be the only one in here. Yeah. So, and just looking at the rule book, they have a first game setup, 2 pages of setup, some key concepts, and then I do know that the main mechanism of the game is that focus row and these focus cards. So this appears to be, this section appears to be all about those focus cards, then performing attacks, and then winning the game. And then this appears to be some extra stuff tucked in. There's a reference on the back, rules, clarifications, things like that, an index. So not too bad of a rule book for as heavy as this game has been said to be. So here are a bunch of, it's a lot of cardboard, so let's set that off to the side. We'll take a look at that here in a second. Okay, so your standard Fantasy Flight insert, that's of no surprise there. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but these are just kind of tucked in there. What's interesting is that they don't fit that way. Why did they create these so wide that you couldn't fit them into the box nicely? So you have to figure out a good way to store these, because you can already see that they've got a little warp to them. And obviously you don't really want these sitting, they do not sit flat at all. So that's a little disappointing. Seems like a major, I guess they wanted to make them 5 cards wide. But I feel like they, a lot of times the first and last section is kind of just hanging off the edge, like Aeon's End with their voids that you can turn. The first and last one always kind of sit off the end. It's only like a half space. So, okay, so we're gonna have to figure out a way to flatten those out. We have a whole bunch of Caravan tokens, city tokens, capital city tokens. Guessing for tokens for each player color. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 4 different colors there. Those are decent little plastic tokens. We've got some dice, and I'm sure these are to put together some kind of dials. These are typical Fantasy Flight dial things. All right, we've got us some small cards here. Okay, so I believe these are the wonders. Yes, so like Stonehenge, Hanging Gardens, Terracotta Army, Petra, Pyramids, the Oracle. Sorry, I can't get my thumb out of the way. Colossus. So I'm not going to go through all of these. Let's just see. Okay, so there's about that many wonders. And then we've got all of these. Camusi. So I believe these go along with the city-state. I'm not 100% sure. So let's just keep moving on. Then we have these, cards. These must go along with the factions, yeah, because these colors match the colors of the player tokens over there. These, I know, are the kind of victory point conditions, and you draw 3 of these every turn, and you have to either do the top or the bottom one. I would have expected there to be more of these, just for variety's sake, but essentially you have to accomplish 3 victory markers, and it's either got to be the top or the bottom. So an 8 on your civilized track or a 2 on your money grubber track, things like that. Once you've reached those 3 benchmarks, then you can declare victory. All right, so now that was a whole bunch of mini American size cards. Now we have a whole bunch of standard size cards. So I believe a good chunk of these are all just the cards that each player gets. Yes. So you can see that there's a whole bunch in red with Roman numerals on the back. A whole bunch in orange with Roman numerals on the back. Green, so we are sticking with the colors of the players here. Green, 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 and these 2 are stuck together. And blue, and these symbols all match what we saw earlier. So let's just take a look at these. So these are your focus cards, and I believe, so like here's a 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so just as an example, you would start with your first level culture here. And your culture, if you choose to do it, place 2 control tokens on spaces matching this slot's terrain or lower that are adjacent to friendly cities. So if we look back here to our focus board that are all warped, let me take one out here. I think I can actually get the blue one. So you can see here that here are the different terrain types, and they're also focused. They have a number beneath them. So say your culture card was here, you could then place 2 control tokens on spaces matching forest. Plus 1 control token. So that's how this works. And the way the system works is that once you use your culture on the 3 spot, and the higher up it is, I guess the more beneficial it is, because you move it all the way down to the 1 and everything else pushes to the right. So things slowly start making their way towards the 5 slot, but if you use them early, then they go back to the 1. And if you wanted to keep using the culture 1, it would just stay at 1. But at a certain point, you're going to be able to upgrade your culture. You can see 2, 3, and all the way up to 4. So this one is place 2 control tokens on spaces matching this slot's terrain or lower that are adjacent. Then you may move one of your control tokens to an adjacent. All right, so that's level 2. Level 3 is the same thing. Terrain slot that is lower, adjacent, that seems to be the same. Does not contain a token or plastic figure, so this one doesn't have that restriction. And then this last one is token within 2 spaces of a friendly space. Oh, this is 3 tokens. If the rival token is unreinforced, place it with 1 of your control tokens. So essentially the action gets better. So you can see here you have economy, currency, steam power, and capitalism. All of these have to do with your little caravan tokens. We've got industry, so we've got pottery, animal husbandry, nationalism, and urbanization. And we have military, so masonry, ironworking, mass production, flight. And I believe all of these cards are the same. So science, astrology, mathematics, replaceable parts, and nuclear power. So in the video game, you have to kind of learn these things, and you go through a certain skill tree to learn them. I'm not quite sure how these will upgrade. So let's just look. Culture appears to be, yeah. So all these cards appear to be the same. The only difference is the color of them, so you can keep them straight. And that's all of the full-size cards, are just the player cards. And these also are what I printed off is imitating. My printing skills left them a little smaller than they should be, but you can see 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And so where was our culture? Because we were looking at it. So the AI cards here would say, place 2 control tokens on spaces adjacent to friendly cities. For each token that cannot be placed, place 1 trade token on this card. So, and then it gives you a priority order. So there's essentially now what I have created is a deck for the AI that matches a player deck that just probably works a little differently. Okay, the last thing in the box here is our, what probably is some player aids and our leaders. So similar to the video game, you can play as various world leaders. Sumeria, I don't remember that one. Scythia, America, France, Rome. So yeah, no player aids in here. I guess on the back here are your player aids, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because if you need to be placing stuff on your cards here, you got to dump it all off to flip it over. But anyways, one thing to point out that I do know exists is that the various people, you can see, have a different order in how you start your cards. So like Rome starts with pottery in the best spot, whereas Egypt starts with early empire. You know, so this lineup of your focus cards to begin the game is very different for each faction. Okay, so let's get this box out of the way, and the last thing we'll do is take a look at what's inside all this cardboard here. So let's take the plastic off and take a closer look. Okay, so first off here, we appear to have several terrain tiles. This appears to be one of the dials that you're going to be having to put together. Here's one of those city-states that we were talking about earlier. And, you know, this is what a terrain tile looks like, if I can punch it out here. So it's kind of this hexagonal spaces, and they kind of fit together like puzzle pieces. They do have a number on the bottom, so I'm not sure if that number always needs to be facing a certain direction, but and they're double-sided, so that's interesting. This is tile 2, side B, and side A. And there's a whole bunch of these red. I know these are barbarian tokens. Okay, so there's these are probably just the general tokens, control tokens, in the red player's color, and then the orange player's color, some more map tiles, some more city-states. These appear to be the wonders, cliffs of Dover, natural wonders, I guess. There's blue, more city-states, more natural wonders, more various map tiles, and the green. So each player has one of these dials, I guess. That's probably how you upgrade your cards. And then this last one here is the only unique one. A whole bunch of resource tokens. These are the various other, you know, specific types of resources. Here are the wonders that you can build up here. So you can see each one of those is unique. And then here's the barbarian, or, you know, I know you turn this between each round, and this tells you like the direction the barbarians are going. This style has something to do with that too. Looks like a few extra control tokens for everybody. And that's pretty much it. So there's really not that many different types of tokens. It's really that just each different player count gets their own set of unique tokens. And there seems to be lots of land tiles. So that's it for the unboxing. Like I said, a couple things are going to happen here. I'm going to figure out how to flatten this, because they're either going to sit like that or like that, and that's not going to work. Here we can give you guys a better look at how much they curve. So obviously not the best way to store them, at least how Fantasy Flight had them in the box. Keep an eye out for a storage solution video for this game and a tutorial video on how to implement the Solo AI. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this,